Accounting price. Accumulated depreciation. Appraisal. Appreciation and depreciation. Appreciation currency. Arbitrage. Automatic fiscal policy. Balanced equilibrium GDP. Balanced GDP. Beta. Black market premium. Blue chip stock. Order price. Combination. Compensating differentials. Conditional probability. Conditional probability. Constant returns to scale. Constrain informal. Consumer sovereignty. Consumer surplus. Consumption. Consumption function. Contestable market. Continuous distribution. Contractionary fiscal policy. Conversion factor. Corner solution. Criminalization. Cross-price elasticity of demand. Cross-section data. Crowding out effect. Cumulative probability. Cumulative probability. Deadweight loss. Deadweight tax burden. Debt rescheduling. Decile. Deterministic distribution. Differentiated goods. Dirigiste. Discretionary fiscal policy. Distortions and market failure. Distribution. Equilibrium aggregate output. Equalizing wage differentials. Equity. Evolving market condition. Exogenous expectations. Expansionary fiscal policy. Expected inflation. Fiat or token money. Final goods. Finance deepening. Fine turning. Flow variable. Future value. F-test. George Joseph Stigler. Gilt-edged bonds. High-risk premia. Import. Independent. Intermediate goods. Internal rate of return. Long-run adjustments. Maturity. Multicollinearity. Non-performings assets. Non-performings loans. Non-trade. Offer price. Open economy economics. Opportunity cost of capital. Organization slack. Other thing equal. Paul Sweezy. Perceived wealth. Percentage change. Perfect capital mobility. Perfect information. Performance. Personal income distribution. Personal income hypothesis. Physical and financial capital. Positive base. Premium saving bonds. Present value. Pre-commitment. Price. Price commission. Price consumption curve. Price control. Price cost margin. Price discrimination. Price effect. Price elasticity of demand. Price fixing. Price fixing agreement. Price index. Price leadership. Price mechanism. Price push. Price revolution. Price setter. Price species mechanism. Price support. Price support scheme. Price taker. Price theory. Price volatility. Primary commodities. Primary goods. Primary market. Primary money. Primary of targeting. Primary securities. Primary workers. Principal. Principal agent problem. Prior distribution. Prisoner's dilemma. Private and social cost of unemployment. Private company. Private good. Private sector cash deposit ratio. Privatization. Privatization in Eastern Europe. Probability. Probability density function. Probability distribution. Probit model. Process. Process innovation. Producers cooperatives. Producers surplus. Production. Production externalities. Production frontier. Production function. Production incentives. Production possibility curve. Production possibility frontier. Production smoothing. Production sphere and budgetary sphere. Productivity. Productivity bargaining. Product cycle. Product differentiation. Product innovation. Product proliferation. Product rule. Profits. Profits push inflation. Profit center. Profit constraint. Profit falling rate of. Profit function. Profit margin. Profit maximization. Profit motive. Profit rate. Program budgeting. Programming methods. Progressive tax. Project appraisal. Property rights. Proportional tax. Propulsive industries. Prospect theory. Protection. Proxy. Proxy variable. Pseudo-demand schedule. Public choice. Public company. Public expenditure. Public good. Public issue. Public ownership. Public sector borrowing requirement PSBR. Public sector debt repayment PSDR. Public utility. Public utility regulation. Purchase tax. Purchasing power of money. Purchasing power parity. Pure competition. Pure inflation. Pure profit. Putty clay. Putty putty. Put option. Pyramiding. Quadrant. Quadratic equation. Quadratic utility function. Qualitative choice models. Quantity theory of money. Quartile. Quasi-liquid asset. Quasi-option value. Quasi-rent. Année François. Quick assets ratio. Quick dispersing funds. Quintile. Quits. Quota. Quoted companies. Quotient rule. Radcliffe Committee. Radical economics. Rater firm. Random events. Ramsey pricing. Random coefficient models. Random sample. Random variable. Random walk. Range. Range of a good. Range of values. Ranking of projects. Rank correlation. Rank of a matrix. Rank tournament compensation rule. Ratchet effect. Rateable value. Rates. Rate capping. Rate of commodity. Rate of interest. Rate of return. Rate of return on investment. Rate of time preference. Rate support grant. Rationality. Rational expectations. Rational lags. Rationing. Rawlsian justice. RD&D. Reaction functions. Real. Real balance effect. Real cost approach to international trade. Real interest rate. Real money balances. Real national output. Real prices and real income. Real wages. Receipt. Receiver. Recession. Recessionary gap. Reciprocal. Reciprocal demand. Reciprocal Trade Agreements Act of 1934 RTA. Recognition lag. Recontract. Recursive model. Recursive residuals. Redeemable loan stock. Redeemable securities. Redemption yield. Redistribution. Reduced form RF. Redundancies. Redundancy payments. Regional Development Grant. Regional Economics. Regional Employment Premium. Regional Integration. Regional Multiplier. Regional Policy. Regional Wage Differentials. Regional Wage Structure. Registered Unemployed. Regressand. Regression. Regressive expectations. Regressive tax. Regressor. Regret matrix. Regulation. Regulation Q. Regulatory capture. Regulatory policy. Reintermediation. Relative deprivation. Relative income hypothesis. Relative price. Relativities. Renewable resource. Rent. Rental on capital. Rentiers. Rent gradient. Rent seeker. Rent seeking. Replacement cost. Replacement cost accounting. Replacement investment. Replacement ratio. Representative firm. Repressed inflation. Required rate of return on capital. Required real rate of return on capital. Required reserves. Required reserve ratio. Resale Prices Act OLUT NM 1964 v Gia Ban L. Resale price maintenance. Reservation wage. Reserve assets ratio. Reserve base. Reserve currency. Reserve ratio. Residual. Resiliency. Resource. Restricted Least Squares RLS. Restrictive Practices Court. Restrictive Trade Practices Act OLUT NM 1956 v NHNG. Restrictive Trade Practices Act OLUT NM 1968 v NHNG. Reswitching. Retail. Retail banking. Retail Price Index RPI. Retained earnings. Retentions. Retention ratio. Returns to scale. Return on capital employed. Revaluation. Revealed preference. Revenue. Revenue maximization. Reverse dumping. Reverse yield gap. Re-export. RHS-ZAC NH. Ricardian equivalence theorem. Ricardo David. Rights issue. Right to work laws. Risk. Risk attitude. Risk aversion. Risk capital. Risk character. Risk diversification. Risk loving. Risk master. Risk neutrality. Risk pool. Risk premium. Risk sharing. Risk spreading. Rival. Robbins Lionel. Robinson Joan v. Robinson-Patman Act. Robustness of an exchange rate regime. Rusa effect. Roots. Rostow model. Roundaboutness. Royalties. Royalty. RPI. Rule of thumb. Run A. Rybczynski theorem. R&D. Sackings. Salary. Sales maximization hypothesis. Sales tax. Salvage. Sample. Sample space. Samuelson Paul. Samuelson test. Satiation. Satisficing behavior. Savings. Savings and loan associations. Savings function. Savings investment approach to the balance of payments. Say Jean-Baptiste. Scarce currency. Scarcity. Scatter. Scatter diagram. Scenario analysis. Schooling functions. Schultz Theodore W. Schumpeter Joseph A. Scientific tariff. Saitovsky paradox. Saitovsky reversal criterion. Screening hypothesis. Script issue. SDR. Search costs. Search unemployment. Seasonal adjustment. Seasonal unemployment. Secondary banks. Secondary market. Secondary worker. Second best. Second order condition. Secular stagnation. Secular supply curve. Secular trend. Secured. Securities. Securities and Exchange Commission SEC. Securities and Investment Board SIB. Securitization. Seigniorage. Self-financing. Self-liquidating. Self-liquidating advances. Self-regulating organizations SROS. Semi-log. Seniority practices. Senior Nassau W. Sensitivity analysis. Separability of preferences. Separation of ownership from control. Serial correlation. Services. Service of debt. Severance pay. Shadow economy. Shadow price. Shadow wage rate. Share. Share economy. Share price. Sharp William F. Sharp gyration. Sherman Act. Shift effect hypothesis. Shift share analysis. Shirking model. Shock effect. Shop steward. Short-dated securities. Short run. Short run adjustments. Short run aggregate supply schedule. Short run average cost. Short run average fixed cost AFC. Short run consumption function. Short run fixed cost AFC. Short run marginal cost SMC. Short run total cost STC. Short run variable costs SVC. Short time working. Shutdown price. SIC. Side payments. Side deposits. Signaling and screening. Significance of coefficients. Simon Herbert A. Simplex algorithm. Simulation. Simultaneous equations. Simultaneous equation bias. Single European ATCC. Single market. Single peaked preferences. Singular matrix. Sinking fund. Sismondi gene. Situation utility possibility frontier. Size distribution of firms. Skewed distribution. Skill differentials. Slack plans. Slump. Slutsky equation. Slutsky Eugen. Smith atom. snake, snob effect, socialism, socially necessary labor, social benefit, social choice, social contract, social cost of monopoly, social decision rule, social discount rate, social economics, social fund, social marginal productivity criterion, social opportunity cost of capital, social optimum, social relations of production, social returns to education, social time preference rate, social welfare function, soft currency, soft loan, sole trader, solo Robert, solvent creditworthy, spatial economics, spatial monopoly, spatial price discrimination, Spearman's rank correlation, specialization, specialization coefficient of, special areas, special deposits, special development areas, special drawing rights SDRs, species flow mechanism, species points, specification error, specifics tax, specifics training, spectral analysis, speculation, speculative balances, speculative boom, speculative bubbles, speculative demand for money, speculative motive for holding money, speculative unemployment, spillover hypothesis, spot market, spread effects, spurious regression problem, Sraffa-Pierrot, stability, stabilization function, stabilization policy, Stack-Elberg's duopoly model, STAG, stages of growth, stagflation, stamp duty, standard commodity, standard deviation, standard error, standard industrial classification SIC, standard of living, standard regions, standard weekly hours, standard working week, state organization of production in Eastern Europe, static expectations, stationarity, stationary point, stationary state, statistic, statistical cost analysis, statistical inference, statistical significance, steady state growth, steady state models, stepwise regression, stereotypes, sterilization impact of capital inflow, sterling area, stochastic process, stockbroker, stocks, stock adjustment demand function, stock appreciation, stock dividend, stock exchange, Stock market. Stock option. Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Stone Sir Richard. Stop-go. Store of value. Strategic voting. Strikes. Strike insurance. Strike measures. Strongly exogenous. Strongly stationary. Structural form. Structural unemployment. Structure conduct performance framework. Structure of interest rates. Structure of taxes. St. Louis model. St. Petersburg paradox. Subsidy. Subsistence. Subsistence expenditures. Subsistence wage. Substitute. Substitution effect. Substitution effect of wages. Sum of squares. Sunk costs. Superconsistency. Superior goods. Supernumerary expenditure. Super-environment. Super-neutrality. Supernormal profits. Supplementary benefit. Supplementary special deposits. Supply curve. Supply of effort. Supply of inflation. Supply of labor. Supply-side economics. Surplus unit. Surplus value. Surrogate production function. Survivor technique. Sustainable development. Swap arrangements. System estimator. Taft-Hartley Act. Takeover. Takeover and mergers. Takeover bid. Take-home pay. Take-off. Tangency equilibrium. Tangible assets. Tangible wealth. Tap issue. Targets. Tariff. Tariff factory. Tariff structure. Tatonement. Taxable income. Taxation. Tax base. Tax burden. Tax credit. Tax credit scheme. Tax disincentive. Tax expenditure. Tax push inflation. Tax shifting. Tax yield. Technical progress. Technological dualism. Technological external effects. Technological progress. Technological unemployment. Technology. Technology choice of. Technology matrix. Technology transfer. Technostructure. Temporary layoffs. Terms of trade. Term loan. Term structure of interest rates. Test discount rate. Test statistic. Threat effect. Threat of payoff. Three-stage least squares. Threshold. Threshold analysis. Threshold effect. Threshold of a good. Johann Heinrich von Thibaut model. Tight money. Time allocation of. Time deposit. Time preference. Time series. Time series data. Time varying parameter models. Tinbergen January. Tobin James. Todaro model. Token money. Tokyo round. Total cost. Total remuneration. Total revenue. Trade. Trade bill. Trade creation. Trade credit. Trade cycle. Trade-off. Traditional sectors. Transaction. Transactions approach. Transactions balances. Transactions costs. Transactions demand for money. Transactions motive for holding money. Transactions velocity of circulation. Transcendental logarithmic production function. Transcendental production function. Transferable ruble. Transfer costs. Transfer deed. Transfer earnings. Transfer incomes. Transfer of technology. Transfer payment. Transfer pricing. Transfer problem. Transformation function. Transformation problem. Transitivity of preferences. Transitory consumption. Transitory income. Translog production function. Transshipment points. Treasury bill. Treasury deposit receipt TDR. Treasury Federal Reserve Accord. Treasury note. Treasury they. Treasury U.S. Department of. Treasury view. Treaty of Rome. Trend. Trend stationary process TSP. Trigonometric functions. Truncated earnings function. Trust. Turning point. Turnover. Turnover tax. Turnpike theorems. 12-month rule. Two-sector growth model. Two-stage least squares TSLS Hawk 2 SLS. Tying contract. Type I. T distribution. T statistic. Unanimity rule. Unbalanced economic growth. Unbiased estimator. Uncalled capital. Uncertainty. Unconverted interest parity. Unconvertible loan stock. UNCTAD. Undated securities. Underdeveloped countries. Underdevelopment. Underemployed workers. Underemployment. Underidentification. Undervalue currency. Underwriter. Undistributed profits. Unearned income. Unemployment. Unemployment benefit. Unemployment equilibrium. Unemployment rate. Unequal exchange. Unexpected inflation. Uni-anticipated inflation. UNIDO guidelines. Unintended inventory disinvestment. Unintended inventory investment. Union. Union density. Union market power. Union pushfulness. Union shop. Uniqueness. United Nations Development Programme UNDP. United Nations Industrial Development Organization UNIDO. United Nations Capital Development Fund. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development UNCTAD. Unit of account. Unit root tests. Unit tax. Unit trust. Unlisted securities market USM. Unsecured loan stock. Unvalidated inflation. Urbanization economies. Urban economics. Uruguay round. User cost of capital. Use value and exchange value. Utilitarianism. Utility. Utility function. U-form enterprise. U-shaped cost curves. Vacancies. Vacancy rate. Validated inflation. Valuation curve. Valuation ratio. Value added. Value added tax. Value judgment. Value marginal physical product. Value money a standard of. Value theory of. Variable capital. Variable cost. Variable elasticity of substitution production function. Variable labor costs. Variable parameter models. Variance. Variance covariance matrix. Variation. Veblen effect. Veblen-Thorstein B. Vector. Vector autoregression var. Vehicle currency. Veil of ignorance. Veil of money. Velocity of circulation. Venture capital. Vertical equity. Vertical integration. Vertical merger. Vertical Phillips curve. VES production function. Vicious circles. Victim company. Vintage growth models. Virtuous circles. Visibility hypothesis. Visible balance. Voluntary exchange model. Voluntary export restraint. Voluntary unemployment. Von Neumann-Morgenstern utility. Von Neumann ratio. Vote maximizer. Vote trading. Voting and non-voting shares. Voucher. Voucher schemes. Wages councils. Wages freeze. Wages fund doctrine. Wages structure. Wage boards. Wage competition model. Wage contour. Wage contracts. Wage differentials. Wage discrimination. Wage drift. Wage fund. Wage inflation. Wage leadership. Wage price spiral. Wage push inflation. Wage rates. Wage restraint. Wage round. Wage theory. Wage spiral. Wagner's law. Weight of employment. Wall Street. Walras law. Walras Leon. Want creation. Warrant. Warranted rate of growth. Warranted unemployment rate. Waste. Ways and means advances. Weekly stationery. Wear and tear. Wealth. Wealth effect. Wealth tax. Weberian location theory. Weighted average. Weighted least squares. Weighted mean. Welfare economics. Welfare function. Welfare state. Well-behaved. Wharton model. Whipsawing. White-collar worker. White noise. White plan. Wholesale. Wholesale banking. Wixell effects. Wixell nut. Sir Friedrich von. Wildcat strike. Willingness to pay. Wilson Committee. Windfall gain. Windfall loss. Winding up. Window dressing. Withdrawals. Withholding tax. Workable competition. Workers' cooperative. Workers' participation. Working capital. Working capital ratio. Working population. Work in progress. Work leisure model. Work sharing. Work to rule. World Bank. Writing down allowance. Ex-efficiency. Yield. Yield gap. Yield gap on securities. Y efficiency. Zellner-Giesel. Zero rate goods. Z variable.